We're always searching for that one big, complicated life hack that's going to change everything for us. But what if the most powerful tool for improving our relationships has been hiding in plain sight this whole time? Well, today we're going to take apart a single simple sentence to figure out what makes it so incredibly powerful.
So this is it. This is our entire source text for today. And I know, it looks simple, right? Almost like something you'd see on a motivational poster. But if we really start to break it down, we find it's not just a suggestion. It's actually a complete, actionable guide for how we talk to each other.
To really get this, let's stop thinking of it as just a nice piece of advice and start seeing it for what it is, an operating system. Seriously, it's a rule that can run in the background of every single conversation, guiding our words and, well, ultimately, our relationships.
Okay, so to understand how this rule actually works, we have to start right at the beginning with the trigger. The whole process activates before you say something mean. But that right there leads to a really crucial first question.
This is way more complicated than it looks, isn't it? That word mean, it's kind of a catch-all for so many different types of communication. And a lot of them we might not even recognize we're doing as they're happening.
And this really blows the definition wide open, doesn't it? Mean isn't just about yelling or obvious insults. It can be that subtle little jab in a sarcastic remark, or that casual dismissal of someone's idea. It can even be a piece of gossip, or a joke that just lands wrong. All of these are words that have the potential to cause real harm. So, we figured out the trigger, those words that could be mean. The very next part of the sentence is the core action it demands from us. And this isn't some passive suggestion, not at all. It's an active command that creates a critical moment of choice. Always think. In this context, it doesn't just mean having thoughts floating around in your head. It's about a very specific mental action, creating a buffer, a little space between that initial impulse you feel and the words that actually come out of your mouth. It's about taking manual control right when we usually run on autopilot. So here's what that process actually looks like in practice. First, you get the impulse, that flash of a sarcastic comment or a quick criticism. Then comes the hardest but most important part, the conscious pause. You're literally stopping the train before it leaves the station. And only then, inside that pause, can you move on to the active thought process this whole rule requires. Okay, so we've paused, we've created that little space to think. But what are we actually supposed to think about? Well, the sentence gives us a very specific and really powerful tool for this moment, a simple empathy test. What the rule is asking us to do is run a quick simulation in our minds. It's a little thought experiment. In one reality, you're the speaker. In the other, you're the listener. The words stay exactly the same, but your perspective is completely flipped. Let's try running that thought experiment right now. When you're the one saying, "That was a really silly idea," it might feel harmless, maybe even justified in the moment. But now flip it. Imagine hearing those exact same words directed at you, about your idea. Suddenly, the entire emotional weight just shifts, doesn't it? So what is it that actually changes? The words are identical. The only thing that's different is the perspective. And with that shift in perspective comes the feeling. The sting, the frustration, the hurt. That feeling, that's the data you need. That's the result of your empathy test. All right, so we've broken this sentence down into its core parts. First, identifying the trigger words, then creating that conscious pause, and finally running the empathy test. Now, let's put it all back together to really understand its true purpose. And here is the single most important takeaway. Following this rule isn't just about being a nice person. It's about being effective. Unintended hurt can totally derail a conversation, it can damage trust, and it can stop you from actually achieving your goal. This rule is a tool to help you say what you mean without all the collateral damage. So when we look at this sentence again now, it's completely transformed. It's no longer just a passive piece of advice on a poster. We can see it for what it truly is. A three-step process for more conscious, more empathetic, and, ultimately, more effective communication. It's a tool just sitting there, ready for us to use. And that's the real question to leave with, isn't it? Imagine installing this simple rule as your default setting. How would your conversations change? How would your relationships change? Who would you become if this one sentence was a constant, active presence in your mind?